Hello everyone, Major Park. Welcome back to my video. Today I'd like to talk about different types of a full-time status. Obviously you guys already know regular Army active duty status. Now when you look at a USC code, there's a Title 10. It means it's under federal authority. Make it simple, President is the boss. You're under federal authority, you're funded by the federal resource. That is considered active duty. Reserve and National Guard, there's also Title 10 status as well. National Guard has a headquarter. I don't want to say not necessarily a command type of headquarter, but it's more of a National Guard bureau. They're located in DC area. The people who work there full-time, a lot of them are a Title 10 AGR status. They're supporting a federal missions and they're under federal authority. Even though they're full-time National Guard status, they're Title 10 AGR status. AGR stands for Active Guard or Reserve. Means that you are full-time National Guard or Reserve member. Okay, so that's Title 10. Another status called Title 32 is still funded by federal source. You still get paid by the federal income. The difference is that you work at the state level. You work under the governor. Governor is your boss. When you're Title 32, you have two bosses. You have a governor and you also have a president. You're supporting federal mission and also state mission as well. When it comes to SAD, state active duty, there's a lot of things going on with COVID situation. There's a lot of emergency situation going on. When the governor has authority to activate National Guard members, I'm sure you guys saw in the news, that status is called state active duty. Funded by the states, under governor's authority, get activated. Difference between Title 32, Title 10, and then SAD, state active duty. Three different status, even though they're full-time. Of course, the biggest difference also is that the full-time period, more than likely, right, when you're Title 10 AGR or Title 32 AGR, we could retire in 20 years. It can be long periods. It's kind of like active duty, almost like that. For state active duty, right, whenever the mission is over, you might have to come back to just a traditional, regular IDT status. When I say IDT, I'm talking about the part-time status. Just come back to your reserve, your unit. Just go there once a month, drill. So you're going to come back and go back to your part-time status. That's a big difference. There's also, another status called ADOS, Active Duty Operational Support, or Active Duty Special Work. Those are also like a temporary full-time status. You'll get those orders from your reserve or National Guard unit. You have opportunity to support the mission for your states, or even, it's just the federal missions, but it depends on the type of mission. But you'll be on the order short as 1 month all the way up to 12 months. Typically never saw anybody who goes over 12 months order, but usually from 1 to 12 months range that you'll be on the order to support the mission. So that's called ADOS or ADSW, which is Active Duty Special Work. That's another full-time status that you can be on. You can see how there's different authority and how the funding comes from different entity. It can be confusing, but you'll see that, how federal authority and state authority, that the funding source, it can be state fund or it can be federal fund. Once again, Title 10, Title 32, I'm talking about the federal funds. When I talk about the state active duty, the state activated by governor, I'm talking about the state fund. Okay, there's two different funds. ADOS is also a full-time support for the mission. And then, of course, you have a chance to get renewed after you fulfill that fiscal year. Maybe the following fiscal year, they might renew that ADOS order. Once again, it depends on the budget and the funding and the mission. So you cannot promise that, but more than likely, typically from your reserve or National Guard unit. There's another status called military technician, MilTech. You still are part of a National Guard member and you're working full-time as a government GS employee. You will typically find those jobs on USA Jobs, and you will see different type of expertise, different area. You can apply it through USA Jobs. The big difference, this MilTech positions, you got to be a National Guard member first, and then you can apply for this position. You'll still drill once a month as a part-time soldier, and you'll be full-time military technician working for your National Guard unit. You will still wear uniform, come to work, but your status is a GS, like a DoD civilian status, like GS 11 or GS 12, 13, your full-time status. That's the reason why I said dual-headed. You could get double retirement. You'll get a reserve side of retirement, which I mentioned from last video, where you could still retire as a reserve status, and you could retire as a federal civilian status. You could retire when you hit 60. You have double retirement. That's for militech. I mentioned about the Title 10 AGR, Title 32 active duty, all full-time status. You serve 20 years, you can retire as well. ADAS can be a short period of time, but you can always go back as ADAS service. So that working status will also accumulate towards your retirement. So being on a ADAS for a short period of time is also great as well, because you could collect and accumulate your retirement points more than just drill once a month. My last video, were usually between 50 points all the way up to 77 points. That's a range of your annual retirement points, usually when you're in reserve status. If you are on ADAS order for 12 months, you just earn 365 points for that year, which is great. You're accumulating more points than your peers because you've been on orders for a long time. I highly encourage people who's in the reserve National Guard status, take that mission, be on the ADAS order, and that can accumulate towards your retirement points. There's also just regular government civilian employee, GS employee, that you guys can find those jobs throughout the nation or even overseas. If you go to usajobs.gov, you could find a lot of different jobs, a lot of variety in different field, different industry, different agency. You can just go look for jobs you want and jobs that fit your specialty, and then apply for those jobs. It depends on the agency. It can be GS, it can be GG or NH. It's all different status. You'll find that. But bottom line, you are a DoD federal civilian employee, full-time. It's a different type of funding source, but you will find those full-time jobs on a USA Jobs for just DoD federal civilian employees, the jobs you want. You're not going to wear uniform. You wear civilian clothes to work full-time. Today's conclusion is that, as I mentioned about those 5 different status, one is Title 10 active duty, or it can be Title 10 as a National Guard or Reserve. I mentioned about Title 10 AGR. There's also Title 32 AGRs. I mentioned about the ADOS or ADSW, Active Duty Special Work Order. Those are typically short period of time, 1 month to 12 months period. And then in the fourth, I mentioned about military technicians, meaning you are a DoD federal civilian status, but also part-time soldier. So you still wear uniform to work full-time. Also, you go to drill once a month as a part-time soldier. So that's why I call it dual-headed. Lastly, I mentioned about the state active duty. 5 different full-time status that I talked about today. Some of you have to stay your home state. I'm sure some of you are in active duty. Think about ETS, or think about transition out of active duty, and you think about joining a reserve or National Guard. Active duty for 10 years, and then now you're thinking about, because of your family situation, staying your home state. I mean, whatever it is, there can be many different situations. If you want to pursue, and if you still want to retire as a full-time status, there's many different ways that you can retire still. Whether you're going to be a continuous serve as active duty, of course, or you serve 10 years in active duty, you come out of the service and you join National Guard or Reserve, and you could still pursue a full-time job as a Title 10 or Title 32 AGR, or you could be on order for a short period of time, on and off. You're going to be on ADAS order for 1 year, you're off, go back to part-time soldier, and maybe following year you go back to ADAS order. You can do that. You can always choose that option, to support the mission. But once again, of course, that depends on your unit's budget, the mission, and the funding available. I'm just telling you that there's an option. You can make that decision based on your situation. Same thing for military technician. Being on a dual-headed, now you have a double retirement option, which is fantastic. What's best for you? Choose the right path. Make the right decision based on your situation. And don't feel bad because you have to get out of the service. Or don't feel bad because you didn't make 20 years of service. You know what? I wanted to stay in, but because of my full-time job, I feel like I had to get out of the service. Well, I mean, that happens, of course. But if that's the decision you have to make, that's fine also. So my point here is that do not worry too much about when you're in the middle road and trying to make decision. What path